What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the E82 competition drift car. We're back again, jamming away, making progress like we have been doing over the last couple months. We're getting closer and closer to the final step, and I'm super pumped. But that doesn't happen unless we just continue jamming out different parts of the car and just getting everything done. Like you saw in the title, we're going to be working on the brake system on the E82, getting everything completely done. We got some awesome upgrades, some new sponsors, and all kinds of cool stuff to get this thing going. So let's just dive right into it. I'm going to be walking you through everything we're going to be doing, and we'll jump over to the car and start getting it knocked out. Now on the E82, we're going to be running the entire brake system in some Nycop hard lines, bending, flaring, doing everything ourselves. Personally, I'm a huge fan of hard lines. I prefer them over AN. I feel like it's much more robust, much more trustworthy, and it's very satisfying at the end of the day. Now in front of me, we have everything we need here to bolt up our pedal assembly and everything into the car so we can start running hard lines from A to B. Let me go ahead and start with some of our bolt-on stuff. One of our new sponsors for this year is wisefab Shop. Chris Miller, the owner over there, is an awesome dude. Sent me out one of their brake booster delete kits. This thing is incredible. Runs 2 separate masters, balance bar, everything provided you need to bolt it right up to your pedal assembly. Now on the E82, I chose to run 2 different size masters. I have a 7/8 master for the front calipers and a 3/4 master for the rear calipers. Doing a bunch of math between like bore size and stroke and everything of the calipers themselves. This is the combination that I and Tilton came up with that should work awesome for our setup. We are going to be installing a bias valve. It's not here yet, it'll be here shortly. So you guys will see me install that on the car when the time comes. But this setup does have a balance bar. Now if you're not familiar with a balance bar, it's pretty straightforward. Right now in the neutral position, I have everything dialed and centered. You apply pressure to the brake pedal and it evenly distributes that pressure to both masters at the same time. You can loosen these set screws, turn the adjuster on the side, and it'll move the load towards the front or rear, whichever side you would like. And when you apply pressure, kind of cock the balance bar and mechanically apply more or less pressure to either side. Like I said, we're going to be putting a bias valve in between all of these things. We will have way more adjustment than we'll ever need, but it's still good to know that we have all that adjustment there. Now moving over to our pedal assembly. One of our new sponsors this year is UCP. This is the ultimate clutch pedal. These guys just make billet aluminum pedals for the E80 and E90 series chassis. They're known to have a lot of issues. They're known for breaking. The factory plastic pedals suck. These are an incredible upgrade. They come with all kinds of different adjustment for the spring. They have some self-lubricating brass bushings at the top. These things are indestructible. Now this is a bolt-on application onto our pedal assembly, but what is not bolt-on is our clutch master cylinder upgrade. I got a Willwood 7/8 master, and I have done a lot of modifications to this thing to make it work. Let me go ahead and bring you in and show you what I've done. Now this is just your standard dual mount master cylinder here. I've cut the rod down, re-threaded it, and put on a 5/16 heim. I made this aluminum bracket so we can adapt this master into the factory bolts on the pedal assembly. I've milled down the backside so we can suck it in as close as possible so it lines up with the clutch pedal. Drilled and tapped this back mount so I can actually attach this adapter here. Now I also have these 2 holes so we can utilize the factory mounting position on the pedal assembly. So this now becomes a straight bolt-on setup. There's a lot of companies who sell these kind of kits. It's pretty straightforward. If you got a little bit of basic knowledge, you can make all this stuff yourself and even improve it, make it more robust than the ones that are sold. And like I said, we're going to be running some Nycop. This is a nickel and copper hardline material for brake lines. Very malleable, super easy to bend and manipulate exactly how you want, but also a very good quality for brake lines. And I also have our turret style vice mounted brake flaring tool. Works fantastic, gives us a perfect flare every time. So that's it. I'm going to stop boring you guys with all the talking. I'm going to get our pedal assembly together, get our clutch master mounted. We'll take everything over to the chassis and start getting it all bolted up. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have saw this on one of my stories. This was a chunk of aluminum I drilled and tapped and put it on my drill, kind of like a lathe, and took my band file to it, and I made this the exact profile and everything I need as a custom bushing to fit right into the pedal exactly how we need for this bolt. Now here's a closer look at our brake booster delete. This is such a nice piece. I also made this aluminum bracket off the side to hold our clutch master reservoir. So all three of our reservoirs are nice and lined, super clean. All right, sorry guys, the lighting inside the car is really bad right now. I don't have a light to put in here, but the pedal assembly is in. Everything's hooked up. I went ahead and drilled through the firewall, put a rubber grommet for the feed line for the clutch master. That's all in, it's installed. It all looks super nice. But it's about 1:30 in the morning here right now. I'm gonna go inside, get some sleep. I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. All right, so next day we're gonna get back at it. I wanted to show you real quick. I don't know if you saw, we had the factory dash put back in here. These are the mounts that I made off camera to support the dash. That was my original plan, was to run the factory dash. We've been in contact with another company right now, and I think we're gonna be running something a little more spicy. So hopefully by the end of this video, I will be able to show you guys the new dash. We now have our brake bias valve from Chase Bays. We're gonna go ahead and throw that in, plumb the hardline up for that. And then we're gonna start working on the rest of our hard lines. We're gonna run from the front master cylinder down to tee off to both front calipers. We're gonna come from the rear into the brake bias valve, from the brake bias valve, go down all the way back and tee off to the two rear calipers. There it is. Nice, beautiful flare. And we'll go ahead and throw our fitting on here. We need to remember, before we cut this and do our other flare, we have to put our fitting on as well. It's very easy to forget to do that. I forgot to record this first bend, but I'm using these plier style. This gets you the closest you can for the tightest bend. Clamp it onto here. You can just grab the line and bend it right around it. I have the piece made going from the rear master down to the brake bias valve. This is the design I came up with. I had made a few different ones, and getting this tight radius bend exactly how I wanted it proved to be a little bit tricky. I've done a lot of hard lines in the past, and this was just fighting me back and forth. So this is how I came up with. Ultimately, looks pretty good. It's sleek, it's tucked back. So now the next thing that we need to do is go ahead and start running the lines for our front brake calipers here. Now, I have some bulkhead fittings that I'm going to be going on both sides of the strut towers into the wheel wells. Those will be here soon. For the time being, we're going to start running our line coming off of our master for the front, coming down, teeing it off, and running it across the bay. So this is all fitting up great. It's all nice and straight, looks good. This is the perfect spot for me to put our T fitting in. And the way I'm gonna run it is to throw a T right here, pointing this way, come off, down, follow the frame rail, up, and then we'll put our bulkhead right here on the strut tower, follow this around the firewall, and do the exact same thing on the other side. And coming off of our bias valve, going to the rear like I was just explaining, will be a piece kind of like this. Has a little bit of symmetry here following this one. 90 down early, and that'll hug the frame rail and go right under this piece coming here. So it'll go under, hugging the frame rail, go all the way back, and then we can have this one come right above it, and then 45 down to the frame rail, 45 straight. It'll be super clean, tucked away as far as I can, and I think it's gonna look really nice. All right, so I have all the lines ran for the front in the engine bay. Let me show you what we got. We have them here from the front master, going down like you've already seen to our T. It goes through the T, hugs up here in this little recess in the firewall, bends down, hugs the frame rail, and I'm gonna be putting the bulkheads in here shortly, just waiting for those to arrive, at which point we'll put those in, bend this up 90-90 right into there. I left this a little long, so I got some wiggle room. Out here on the front of the T, bends down 90-90, follow the frame rail, same thing, bulkhead right here, left it long so I can bend it up and into that bulkhead. Now I'm also going to be hard mounting all these lines in the engine bay. Obviously they're not just going to be all flopping around. I got them taped just to hold it in place. I still need to tweak this a little bit, but the mounts that I'm using, you'll see in just a minute, are a hard metal mount that I'll just attach with some riv nuts, and it just pressure holds this all in place. So I'll be able to get this all exactly where I want it as soon as I get those mounts in. But first, let's go ahead and drill these, throw the bulkheads in, finish bending and flaring the last bit of these two lines, and then we'll secure everything and have the engine bay all done. Okay, so I came out last night off camera and put in all of the mounts just with some self-tappers. For the time being, you can see how it's secured all the way around everywhere we want it. So now I'm going to take out the self-tappers. We're going to drill them for the M5 riv nuts and get those installed permanently with some red Loctite, and then we'll go from there. All right, so it's time to throw in our bulkheads. These are them here. They are a 3AN adapter that'll be in the wheel well to go to the caliper by a 3/8 by 24 inverted flare that we can adapt our hardline to. So we're going to drill a hole in both of our wheel wells, get these put in, get them Loctited, probably use a lock washer as well, just so we can have some security that these will not come loose. Then we'll finish the last of our bends, get this plumbed in so we can have the engine bay lines completely done. All right, guys, so I was tinkering around last night with the remaining bit of brake line that I had. I didn't think it would be enough to go to the back of the car, but it was actually perfect. So let me go ahead and show you how that's looking. Here's the piece right here coming off the bias valve. I have it tucked right behind here, nice and clean. And it runs the frame rail nice and high and tucked away all the way to the back, where I have it just ran up here and secured. So from this point, I'm gonna go ahead and cut a T fitting on here so we can run to the passenger and here to the driver's side, just like we did in the front to some -3AN. Now from the factory, it's normally hard lines on the chassis that converts to soft lines going to the subframe, and then on the subframe has its own hard line that comes out and adapts to the calipers. Now, I did not want to run it that way because if there's ever an accident or we ever have to service anything on the subframe, I don't want to have to do dry brakes or separate our air system to drop our subframe. So I'm trying to have it all mounted on the chassis so we can then drop the subframe, service everything, and not have to actually remove any of the brake systems. So that's my plan. We're going to do that with all the brake lines for the foot brake and the handbrake. Let's get right to it. All right, guys, so I've been underneath the car, just fabbing up some of the brake lines, getting them all bent, getting them flared, exactly how I want to run it. It's probably going to be a little dark under here, but let me show you what I got. So it runs down the frame rail, comes up to the back here right above the subframe where it tees off, and will run to each caliper. So that completes our foot brake system. Now we need to go ahead and move over to our handbrake. So I'm going to start bending up some lines and we'll just get it plumbed in. All right, so I got a scrap piece of brake line that I kind of put in here, and I'm just playing with some angles. I think this is how I'm gonna run it. Just kind of bend it down, immediately run it against the tunnel, It'll go behind the seat and it'll pop out right here next to the trans tunnel, kind of by where the other line is, and they'll just run symmetrical going back, so it'll look nice and clean. All right, so I went ahead and drilled a hole and put a grommet where it's going to penetrate through the body down here. I flared the other end. I bent it kind of at the angle I wanted, just based off of that practice piece I showed you. So I'm going to feed all this length through here and hook it up to the hydro. All right, so here it is. Got it bent, straightened out, kind of followed like the contour of the tunnel and everything, just to keep it nice and tucked. It's gonna run along the bottom. I still need to, you know, secure it, so it's just kind of floppy doppy right now. But it goes through. I got a big old tail here, so I'm going to just match this original one for the foot brake, so it looks nice and symmetrical down here, and I will tee it off just like that one, and we will run to the handbrake adapter that's right here. All right, guys, so we officially have all of the brake lines completely plumbed in, ready to be ran with our soft line to the calipers. We have our handbrake ran all the way back, same thing. That's tied into those Motion Raceworks adapters I was showing you guys that I have welded to the chassis. So here is the handbrake line, runs down. I've just put the seat back in. You can see one of the little brake line holders right there. Also under the car, same thing. We have the holders on the line. It's all super clean, and I'm real happy with how it turned out. So we are now completely done with the entire brake system throughout the entire car. So that's all we got time for in this video. On the next one, we're going to be doing all of our suspension, getting our angle kit installed, getting our coilovers installed, and this will be one step closer to being on the ground. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Later.